My brother Nathaniel quoted the bard earlier, and if you saw me waiting in the wings, you might have quoted him also and said, John Cassius has a mean and hungry look. I'm from table 9 over there. I am Sam. You can't hear me? All right. I'm Sam. I am Sam. I'm number 8.
Sam, I am.
I used to be the youngest boy. I had a position of prominence in this family. Now I'm just the second youngest boy. I used to be the tallest in this family until about 2003. In 2003, actually, I received a newspaper article in the mail from a former teacher at Nottingham High School. And she sent it to me and said, I'm sure this has been shared with you, but it's a wonderful article. I'm sure you'll appreciate it. And it was all about how the youngest Jackson brother was wearing number 10. I thought, you know, they wrote this article about me 7 years ago. Now they've recycled it for this guy. So Brandon Walter, and his nicknames come from both Brandon and Walter, so you've heard him referred to as Wally, and he's got lots of nicknames they'll talk about, but Brandon and Walter are both uncles, men of great strength and character, and men who deserve their own toast, and Uncle Stephen could share about his father, Uncle Walter, and Uncle Brandon is the last living uncle of my dad's brothers, both wonderful men of faith. But Brandon was named after the two of them, and when he was born, he had little to no hair, and because no hair came in for so long, he was known as Bald Walt. That was his first nickname. And if you know Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and you look at the profile of Alfred Hitchcock, that's pretty much Brandon's baby picture. So you can look that up if you've never heard of it. That was Bald Walt.
Until 6 or 7.
Until 6 or 7. I was looking at that album, and I think he's drawn in some curls in some of those earlier pictures. So Bald Walt was first, and then Brandy Bags was a nickname that came from Cousin Tim, apparently. I don't know if you knew that. He came over when Brandon was very small. So he was Brandy Bags, Brandonius. Brandon became an uncle at the age of 5, so he became Uncle B. That was a nickname, and then he tortured nephews, and that's a lot of those stories have been told this weekend. He was Walter Casagrande and Rumpelum, two of which were Nick's contributions, of course. And then if his sisters, depending on how his sisters were feeling about him at any particular time, there's either Brandon, so B-R-A-N apostrophe N, Brandon, or Brandon, so it's brand with a hyphen in the done, so that's not exactly a nickname, but they can probably demonstrate that for you. But the one I probably should drill down a little bit for you, Rachel, is Workaman Brand, which you may have heard. That was a nickname. So what Brand would do, he had his Batman scarf, and it was tied in a knot, and he treated it like his Batman cape, and he would chew on the knot. It was, boy, that thing got nasty, but he wouldn't take it off that thing for it. How long it was. But he was
with 2 fingers.
Well, yeah, right. I should warn you that if there's been any allegations, like you're performing church, and they're like, well, this guy you're bringing along, there's some impropriety, because if he's slipping his 2 fingers in his mouth, and then he would find somebody's ear, or maybe go up the sleeve of their shirt, and just like rub on it, while he soothed himself with his 2 fingers. I don't know when he gave that up, and he's given that. So if anybody's, and there's picture evidence of that in there too. Thank you, Joel, the 2 fingers. Maybe a committee, this is fine if we're joining as many members. Pile on. So Workaman Brand would slip down into the basement to the workbench, And I recall all the times he would slip down to that workbench, but I don't recall him producing anything. And the way I think this may be relevant to you, Rachel, is if you substitute workbench for writing desk. And like, Brandon always seems to be slipping away to this bench or desk, and I'm just not seeing the fruit. So if he wants you to call him Write a Man Brand, or he's insisting on that, just so you're warned. And speaking of that, I have actually some documentary evidence. This is a letter that Brandon wrote in 2007 on the topic of career advancement and discernment, I guess. Here we go, you're going to like this. The difficulty of letting go of soccer is finding something else. It really becomes a question of what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. If I plan to go into a certain career, I should use my free time to prepare myself. It seems stupid to worry about it at this point, but after college seems a very influential time in terms of long-term career choices. That is, if I decide to go home and teach Italian in Solvay, I'll probably never rise above head of the Italian department at Solvay. Solvay is this unsuspecting, innocent town just a little bit west of here. I don't know what they did to bring it. The Bearcats. I looked up to the Bearcats. So if I can't rise above head of the Italian department at Solvay, or have the ambition to change careers, at least not drastically. On the other hand, do I really want to go into business or work for the CIA or some other higher profile job? If I did, I would have to try to get into one of those fields almost immediately. It seems like I should delay a decision by going to grad school, but I really do hate school. I know that I'm not cut out for doing that. In the meantime, my hair has grown unbearably long. I'm committed to not cutting it until I get home. But it is a real pain, especially in dandruff season. I just keep imagining how good it will feel to get a buzz cut in the summer if I keep allowing it to grow. The hardest part is finding a hairstyle that doesn't get in my eyes and isn't repulsive like a middle part, any middle part. So far, the best I have found is a quasi-afro with a barely detectable sway of the bangs inside. I don't know the barely detectable, whether you told him the local Italian, when I do this, can you see the sway? That's a profound mystery in this letter as well.
Fabio.
I just thought I should make you aware of that. Just the roots of Brandon's existential career and all that. But transitioning and getting toward the actual toast. Another Brandon note that Brandon wrote me more recently, in which he shared. We were discussing Dad's death, and he wrote somehow, just sharing feelings and thoughts that we exchanged by letter. So I wasn't getting phone calls, we weren't exchanging phone calls. Somehow I feel determined to go follow him wherever he went. And so Dad was a man of faith and grace. And grace being this profound sense of being given so much of what you don't deserve, that your life is marked by giving to those who may not deserve, who cannot give back. And I'm struck by you too, and the sacrificial act of grace in caring for Dad. And I'm so glad that you have that foundational act that you did together. And when Brandon and I, at one time when Brandon was in college, we would memorize Bible passages together. And we once memorized Colossians 3 together. And we would read the verses, we would recite the verses back and forth to test each other. And one of those verses is, as the Lord has given grace to you, so you must give grace to each other. My longing and my deep desire is for both of you to live in the reality of grace, that grace should abound in you and from you and through you in your marriage and in all aspects of your life. So raise your glass to Uncle Brandon and his beautiful wife, Rachel.
And I always beat him at Parcheesi.